said it didn't look good. Huh? They said it didn't look good. Yeah.
Okay. It's going to be a long process to figure out where that works, what that is, and why it starts working. Control. Yeah, different steroids will take out one steroid and the steroids go up, and then they start taking them away, see if your body gets something. All that takes, a couple of years to try this and see what
Yeah, just started coming back. Yeah, just a little bit, but I think he might have taken 30 seconds difference. You got a little more.
Oh yeah, it just let loose. Wow.
It's raining hard, huh?
Yeah.
It just started.
Just a week. Yeah.
Couldn't avoid it.
Good. It's a little wet out there.
Just started already.
Yeah. Well, that comes to slow the thunder rolling, but no rain, and then I think the other 2 miles. That was
They're trying to trim up. From what I heard, yeah, it could find your ball. Of course, I'm not there with that off there. Yeah, it's kind of frustrating.
well, it doesn't make sense. Oh, that's true. Northeast section of township. Yeah.
I know you have. easier to move.
No, I know they were 40. But I just wasn't sure where they came I didn't want to say.
Yeah,
That was really nice. I went out there and took a little. Not in the shower.
they have good weeks, I've had good weeks.
That's gonna make it work, you know, right now, if you're parked at the post office.
Megan did well.
It's easy to just pull straightforward and make the right hand turn. I don't know what you're doing. I don't like that idea. I don't like it. I've never traffic flow.
How's it going, Chief?
You got it.
Not too bad. Dan's on me, Bobby almost because I got my packet weight coming in, so.
We're gonna get our work today, be nice for us.
Look, I heard it's supposed to be only in the 70s,
Cool, I think the
which
weather's
is great for me. I love that. Yeah, it'd be nice if the street fair was only in the 70s, that'd be great.
We'll be back there doing the street.
I heard no more rain after the next day or so.
Yeah, actually, it was,
And only, it's been beautiful out there as well.
I like the brain.
Now, someone will go over here for
Finally, I'm still pretty good shape.
It's hard to do.
I guess it don't matter. I guess it don't matter.
I'd like to call to order the September 4th, 2012 meeting of the Columbiana City Council. Would you please stand for the invocation and let's
Lord, bless those who hold office in our government. Help them to do their work in a spirit of wisdom, kindness, and justice, and to use their authority to serve our citizens faithfully. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ferguson?
Here.
Bishop?
Here.
King?
Here.
Challenger?
Here.
Challenger? Here. Lakeman?
Here.
Steinholz?
Here.
Chamberlain?
Here.
Blaisdell?
You should have a copy of the August 21st, 2012 meeting minutes. Are there any errors or omissions? If not, they'll stand as presented. Under communications, we have one. Dear Council, Columbiana Music Boosters are respectfully requesting permission to hold a tag day on October 6, 2012, from 9 a.m. until 12 p.m. Upon your approval, we will then contact the local businesses for their consent to collect donations. Please consider our request during your next meeting. Feel free to call Elaine Kloss with any questions or concerns. We're looking forward to hearing from you as soon as possible. Sincerely, Elaine Kloss. This will be held over until new business. Everyone have a copy of the Columbiana Park Recreation Cemetery Board meeting minutes of July 23rd. Are there any comments on these? Is there anyone desiring to speak to council this evening? Manager's report.
Okay. We received a copy of the EMS department report for August. And I haven't received any other reports from the other departments yet. So it'll be at the next meeting. And also gave you a copy of the bill list. Have any questions?
I have one question. On page 8 it says building inspector certification, $110. Did Bob take the test?
No, that's for registration.
You know when the test is going to be?
I think it's December, is what I understand.
Do they only do it once a year or
They
twice a
do
year?
it periodically, he just missed the last one, so this one's December. When I say periodically, like 3 or 4 times a year.
Yeah, I asked you to put that in your status report, but you didn't.
I didn't?
No,
Sorry.
it's okay.
You know now.
Don't do
right?
it again.
You know now.
Anything else for the city manager?
I want to follow up. I wasn't here at the last meeting. I was reading the minutes. It says that initial estimate of progress of building inspection by Mahoning County. Blaisdell say that assistant building and zoning inspector Bob Building must be certified to conduct residential inspections, and then the city could enter into an agreement with Mahoning County for commercial inspections. Do we know why Bob has to fix the residential in order for us to do the commercial?
Yeah. The Mahoning County prosecutor and I have had numerous conversations about it. And we thought that we could establish the commercial end of this deal just by an agreement between municipality and the commission. The prosecutor tells me that they can't do that. We have to be declared to be a subsidiary, a sub-building department of the Mahoning County Building Department to do that. So we have to get a certification from the state to accomplish that purpose. My concern has been that if we did that without Bob being certified to handle the residential end of it, we'd have a building department without any people. So we're trying to put the ducks in the proper order, if you will. So once we get Bob certified, then we can make application to be a satellite building department of the Mahoning County Building Department doing only the residential, and they'll do the commercial. In the meantime, the people who are involved in commercial dealings will do what they've always done, simply deal with the state directly until they can deal with Mahoning County. So it's kind of a convoluted explanation, but that's what I've been glad to do.
I didn't talk to the prosecutor. She was gone today, the one you've been working with, but I talked to the building inspector's department. They told me that they are totally separate and require us to create an ordinance just creating a commercial zoning department, or inspecting department, not residential, and that they can be completely separate. And the way you word the ordinance, whenever you create the commercial inspection department, that we would name Mahoney County as the officiating, the inspecting, Mahoney County building inspectors as our commercial inspector.
And that's all true, but
Where does Bob play into that?
well, as I said, before that happens, the prosecutor has told me, I don't know who you talked to, the prosecutor has told me that we must be a subsidiary building department. We have to make application to the state to hold that position. I don't recommend that you do that until we have a certified employee. Because if we don't get a certified employee, then we're beholden to Mahoney County for the residential end of it, and we don't want to do that.
No, not if you pass this only for commercial.
But they, what I'm telling you, Brian, is the prosecutors tell me they don't do one without the other.
I don't know, I mean, I don't want to get into a finger point. That's not what I was told. And they called the prosecutor at 4 o'clock today on their cell phone to answer, because I wanted to know. I didn't talk to the
Why would you
prosecutor.
call me first? I've been dealing with the prosecutor for 2 or 3 months on this. Why would you call the prosecutor?
Because I
called me.
had your side of it right here.
You don't talk to me personally
I
about it.
called and I wanted to find out why, from Mahoney County standpoint. It's real simple. It says here that we were told that we had to do this. So I called Mahoney County to say, why does Bob have to be a part of residential inspections to do commercial inspections?
Bob is not part of it. But we don't want to have a subsidiary building department without a residential employee. We don't have a residential employee until Bob passes the test. I think that makes sense.
I just think you can do one without the other, couldn't you?
Well, I've been told you can. So, it's much ado about nothing because there's no prejudice to anybody in this process.
Well, the only thing I'm looking at is time frame, because now if the test is in December, and the state only does these a couple of times a year, I guess there's one this Friday.
That he wasn't able to get into that.
Right. And then again, the next one is in November, from a certification standpoint, to be able to, not the test, I'm talking about where Columbus will acknowledge our ordinance to create this inspection department.
Yeah.
The next one is in November. So that would probably put the next one after that sometime in the middle of, after the spring of 2013. So all I'm trying, from a planning standpoint, say if we shift those two separate and you have one residential and one commercial, one has nothing to do with the other. I mean, we're not giving Mahoney County anything on the residential side. We're not creating anything that would require a residential employee. And we're naming them as the commercial, quote unquote, employee, so to speak, that oversees that department. I don't understand why it would be Bob, and at the same time, it speeds the whole thing up by probably 9 or 10 months.
Well, I've already given my explanation as to why. Now, in terms of consequence, there is none, because Bob will continue to function as he has for 20 years until he passes this test. Then he'll operate in another dimension, so to speak. It'll be doing the same thing with the state certification. So our residential building arrangements will proceed unaffected until he takes the test and passes it. In the meantime, Mahoney County, there's anyone who wants to do a commercial transaction in this town will do it the way they've done it for 20 years. So no one's prejudiced by the delay.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, on that same subject, have we voted up or down on this issue? We're talking like it's a done deal.
It was a 5-to-1 vote.
No, I don't think we've ever
I don't think
voted
so.
to do it. We voted to have Dan look into a contract.
I don't think
I believe
there's
what
been
he did was
any,
authorize me to finalize arrangements with Mahoney County so that the commercial entities working in Columbiana could be governed by the Mahoney County.
Was that in the resolution?
Rather than going to Columbus. That's.
Was that in the resolution?
I believe there is one.
Can somebody?
I don't
have
have
that for next meeting?
Do you know if there is, Keith?
I can't answer.
It sure came out that way in the newspaper.
Yeah, that's the way I read it. I don't remember, I remember, me personally, my intention was to authorize Dan to proceed to find out what's the cost?
There is no cost.
There is none.
We knew
Didn't know that.
We knew that then.
I don't think we
I don't think we voted up or down on this process.
I think he did, but we can confirm that.
We'll need to do that.
It's been a long time because
It was April recall.
we were trying to get this done in the spring and then in the summer. And
I happen to be against it and would not have voted for it.
Well, if you voted for it, you can't change your mind now.
Well, I understand that.
So I'd like to see the evidence if I could in the next meeting.
They'll propose another ordinance.
Well, if you folks have a problem with this, and after we get this all arranged, you're gonna vote it down, I'd like to know now. I mean, this would be,
I don't
this
remember
would be a
being
waste of
asked.
time if you're not going to.
I don't remember being asked whether I thought it was a good idea or a bad idea.
It was.
We discussed it.
Voted no,
Numerous
voted yes,
meetings.
we got to
Yeah.
talk about it.
That's a personal problem.
I'm just telling you, I don't remember doing it.
I think all we voted on was
So
for him
I'd
to
like to see the
investigate.
evidence.
And that would have been 5-1, investigate.
Wouldn't that show in the minutes somewhere, Dan, in April?
I'm sure there's an action on it.
Yeah, there was an action on it.
I'm not sure the action was to go yes or no. It might have been to
Well,
proceed.
you have
and
to,
get some
you have to
information.
approve the contract. That's what I was trying to put together with the Mahoney County prosecutor. And we thought we had the deal done months ago until they came up with this new twist that the state had to approve the department. That's how it got delayed.
So if we don't approve the contract, it's still not done.
That's right. If the contract is presented to you, you have to sign it, the Mahoney County Commissioners have to sign it. If one of the two principals doesn't sign it, this has all been
According
waste of
to
time.
Dan, you can change your mind.
Well, I'd like to see where I vote. Let's proceed with this, hiring these people.
I'm sure that that'll show up in the minutes in
And then I'll
April.
make a believer out of me.
But you still have to vote on the contract. So, I mean, you all have, each of you have a vote on the contract. If you decide to vote it down, it'll be on.
But when we vote on the contract, we're voting on the contract only, not the issue of whether or not we're going to do it. We're voting to say, is this contract what we
Accept.
had in mind? Is it
You
acceptable?
would be.
But
you would
I
be
disagree
voting-
with you that kills the whole thing just because.
Yeah, you would be voting, assuming Bob passes the test, and we have a certified department for residential purposes here, you would only be voting on the commercial end of it, which would take the commercial matters to Mahoney County. You say, no, we don't want anything to do with this contract. It's over.
Did you say the state has issues with this process?
Yes, the state isn't, the board of building, I forget the exact name, but they're directly involved in it. Because
All right, yeah.
Mahoney County is certified by the state to do these things for commercial and up there residential purposes. The purpose of Bob taking the test is to become certified by the state board to do the residential work here.
So when we first started talking about this, one of my questions was, is the city currently liable since Bob is not licensed? And you said no.
No.
So then I'm not following the delay then.
You may not remember this because it was a while ago, but I told you at the time, there was a decision to make, whether or not to go this route or to take the position that we're a home rule city and we're not going to do that. We're just going to continue the way we've been doing our business. And the decision at that time was, no, let's get Bob certified and go that route. Let's not take what I would call an adversarial position, claiming autonomy to handle these things locally.
All right, so does that mean we are not liable currently then, even though this issue has arisen?
Yeah.
Because Bob's not licensed and he's doing
When you say
inspection.
liable.
Or certified, Bob's not certified and something happens to a home he inspects. And we are not liable for that, even though he's not certified.
No, there's plenty of case law. Building inspectors aren't liable if the house is, defective and something awful happens to the house. That's not the building inspector's issue.
Well, if he
Between the
passes-
builder and the owner.
If he passes that though, he inspects it and says, oh yeah, that looks great.
At this point in time, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, Keith, Bob has nothing to do with the plumbing, or the electric.
The electric or the plumbing.
Or plumbing. All he does
He's
is
structured.
he makes sure that they have done the inspections. The people who do those inspections have done them, they've tagged the appropriate utilities within the house. And when the people bring the plans for building the house, he goes over that, makes sure that they meet zoning and the requirements of the building code as he understands. He'll be doing basically the same thing that he's doing now with a state certification. But building inspectors don't become liable for the integrity of the house. That's not That's not a legal position. Their duty is to the city to do the examination, not to the property owners.
Okay, then I guess the next question is, why does Mahoney County care if Bob certified it?
They don't. They have nothing to do with, I mean, Mahoning County has
Right.
no concern about that, but the prosecutor has been telling me that the state wants this department to be deemed to be a sub-department of the Mahoning County Building Department. My opinion, as your lawyer, is I don't want that without an employee who is certified.
And all they're telling me is that we could have one without the other, just a commercial only.
Well, that would be nice. That's what we had originally planned. And
They told me that they thought this could have been done in April, and that
that's what I was. That's what I thought too. Until I was told otherwise.
per my phone call, and we can get the prosecutor involved.
Why that? If you would have told me this, if you would have called me and told me this is, I have some issues, I would have explained this to you personally. And we're not going to get the Mahoney County prosecutors out here to interrogate them as to who said what to whom. I'm relaying to you what I was told.
I'm not interrogating anyone. I mean, so that we can
Certainly sound that way.
No, you said you'd be happy to move forward, and that they're the ones that suggested we couldn't do this. I'm saying we come down here, we can move forward. That's not interrogating anything.
Well, I think we're beating a dead horse here.
I'm not sure how everybody else feels, but I certainly don't want to be a subsidiary of Mahoney County.
I don't either.
We're not gonna be, it's just to do commercial inspections, that is all. I mean, come on.
They can't even be held
You make it, I mean, come on. I'm so scary about that. Come on.
We beat this up enough. So somebody's going to find out if there was a resolution, get the information for the next meeting.
Well, it would really help, Dan, and Keith, if you guys would keep us advised of all of these issues as we travel, because we just traveled a long way to find out what we agreed to in April, and now we're disagreeing with what we agreed to.
Well, now, I've been telling you all along what's been going on. I've reported to you regularly on these communications with the prosecutor. I've reported to you 3 or 4 times since April.
Deanne says she has the minutes. She found it already.
At the April 3rd meeting, there was discussion followed by a motion to prepare an ordinance to contract with Mahoney County for commercial and industrial inspections for 1 year. And that motion, all of the council members were present at that meeting, and that motion passed unanimously. And then there was a motion to have Mr. Belding become a certified residential inspector and to acknowledge his capacity to enforce the state of Ohio residential code, and that one was also passed unanimously. Now, those were simple motions. The first motion was to prepare an ordinance. If there was an ordinance prepared after that, that would be in preceding minutes, but I don't think there was, because I don't think Dean prepared an ordinance yet, because he wasn't ready to prepare an ordinance.
We had the ordinance prepared, and the contract had to be attached. And that's when we got in this back and forth as to how the contract was going to be prepared. First of all, we agreed on the terms, and the prosecutor and I were happy with the way it was going to go. And in fact, I don't know if you remember, Keith, we had it on the agenda to bring it in here.
You gave us a contract, didn't you?
Well, you may have seen it. It may
I
have
thought
been
you
in the
gave
packet.
us a
It was in there
contract.
and taken off the right.
Yeah, and that's why it was taken off, because of what I've just explained to you.
Tom, you're kind of right.
Well, this isn't horseshoes.
Okay. So I guess we'll continue on until we find
To be quite
out.
honest with you, I don't remember voting on an ordinance. I may have said, yes, let's prepare one and see what it says, but I don't remember voting on an ordinance to move forward. So,
Well, you're
We just
right.
said you didn't.
there is no order.
We just said that you didn't.
Okay, so we haven't even, okay, so there is a vote up and down on this issue yet. That's
And
not any question.
I have had the ordinance and the proposed contract in my file for quite a while,
Okay.
trying to get this done with them.
So at some point before this commission, or this council, there will be an up and down vote on this issue.
Yeah.
Okay. So it didn't sound like a minute ago. Sounded like it was a done deal.
Well, I thought it was too. I don't know how we get so tangled up in our own Mickey Mouse here.
Because we make up what we want as we go.
Yeah.
Well, I
we're
didn't
making
make
up
up
the, we're making up.
I didn't make up the fact that there's no ordinance that we voted on yet.
There's a motion to prepare one, as she read.
That's it. I've agreed to prepare ordinance on everything. Why wouldn't you?
Well,
You need to see facts.
I'm gonna suggest to you, if there's a consensus on this council that you don't wanna do this,
I've already.
let us know, because it's pointless to go through this exercise if you're not going to approve the
I
arrangement.
voiced my opinion.
I can voice mine. I had 3 contractors approach me. What was that?
I said, here we go.
Oh, that's tell you how I felt.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind, I don't.
No, go right ahead.
No. Three approached me, and I approached 3 more to see what it was, and it was 2 of them are the largest builders in our area. The other 2 worked in both Columbiana and Marin County. And it was 5 to 1 against. They would rather work with the state, so I'm going to go with that way.
Well, we had 3 contractors in here at the meetings and they were for it.
There was 2, Roger and Mr. Boak.
2, I'm sorry, 2.
So I'm going to vote against it.
I'm gonna vote for it 1,000 times yes if I could, because from a financial standpoint, it saves the people that live in this city money. It doesn't affect anyone that works here. I don't understand why you wouldn't want to do it unless you're afraid of oversight.
Well, I've heard the opposite.
I've heard the opposite from these contractors.
Mr. McBain, you want to make a comment?
Yeah, I brought this up, I guess probably a couple months ago,
I remember that.
that we had several contractors in the planning commission who approached us after the meeting saying they didn't want to go on public record because they work both in Mahoning and Columbiana County, and they obviously don't want to jeopardize their relationship with the Mahoning County people when they're putting projects in place. But they indicated to us it both costs them time and money to have to deal with Mahoning County rather than the state. The state, they said, was able to handle most things electronically, where they submit a lot of things electronically. Things get done fairly quickly, where I know that when I listened to the presentations here in council, that it had been indicated that a lot of people had to actually travel to council to get things done. And they sort of said that that's not necessarily all the case. Now, all this is hearsay. I can't tell you what really happened and what really doesn't
They
happen.
don't have the nerve to come here and say it. It's all yours.
Well, they don't want to jeopardize their relationship.
Why?
When they work with
Wouldn't
them.
either.
They said that very specifically. They also said that inspections were much more complicated and required much more frequent inspections from the Mahoning County, which maybe is good, because maybe it's more thorough, I don't know. One particular case we had was the case where a owner of a building had an opportunity to lease space to a group, and he basically said that had he been required to go through Mahoning County the amount of time that he would have been required to have everything inspected. I mean, he literally would have had to have the whole interior, everything that was done to put this group in where it wasn't required by the state. Would have been so long that this organization would not have located in Columbiana. They would have looked for space in some other location where they didn't have to go through that process. They were looking for some place where they could get approval within a month, get moved in, shortly thereafter, and they were able to do that under the present system. So the impression I've been given by the people I've talked to or who have approached me is that it does take them more time, it takes them more money to get things done. I approached council saying, this is what I've heard, and ask you all to go talk to contractors to find out whether or not that's true. Some of you may have done that, some of you may not have done it. I can't tell you what really happens. I don't know. I can only report to you what I've heard from people that have approached us at Planning Commission.
But you knew who they were, right?
Yes, I did. Yes.
And so they trusted you more than they trusted council, is that what you're telling me?
No, I think they would come and approach council outside of the council meeting. They didn't approach us, they didn't do it within the Planning Commission meeting. It was after Planning Commission when they talked to us, or talked to me in particular, I think there were a couple of us there, where they were specifically saying, we don't want this to go on public record because we don't want our names out there saying that we have problems working with Mahoning County. We prefer to work with the state over working with Mahoning County because they do work in Mahoning County, and they don't want to jeopardize the relationships they have there right now by saying, gee, we prefer this over that. They would come before individual council members or even after a council meeting and tell you what they think. But they're not going to do it here in a council meeting any more than they would do it in a planning commission meeting. They wouldn't do it in a planning commission meeting.
And
Except for that.
What were you thinking?
Except for that.
The permitting costs compared to the permitting costs from the schedule of fees that were brought from Mahoney County, were like 40% less here than at the state level. You remember that, Dave?
He gave, the guy from Mahoney County gave us a fee schedule.
I mean, it wasn't even comparable. So it's all done here locally. When you do have to drive, you said you would not necessarily have to. That means necessarily sometimes you may. It's a 15-minute drive instead of a 2.5-hour drive. I'm not a regulation guy. I'm not. But I think if you're going to have an inspection department, you just said that the whole reason they don't want this to happen is because they had to be inspected. We're paying an inspector. They should do inspections. If you're not, then why have one?
I mean, we sit up here and we complain about absentee landlords for the buildings downtown, and now when we might have someone come in and inspect the building and say, this needs done, now all of a sudden we don't want it to happen. I don't get it. I don't get it.
go ahead, Mr. McVeigh.
Well, one example they gave me was he said that if we wanted to replace gutters on the building, if we did that going through the state, we would just simply replace them and everything would be fine. If we want to do it using the Mahoney County group, we would have to go file a permit, we would have to have their approval, submit plans, we would have to have approval, and they would come down and inspect it after it was done.
Well, maybe
So that's the kind of thing that they were arguing.
Because Mahoney County uses the state's code, correct?
I can only tell you what I was told, Brian. I have no idea what's actually done.
Because I'm only telling you what I've been told. I wasn't here too. Mahoney County is using the same code that the state is using. So if the state requires something different than the county, then either the state's just not doing it, or they're just simply not telling the state and just doing it. Correct?
No.
I know that.
I personally am not convinced that this move is a progressive move. Financially, easy to do business, whatever. I'm personally not convinced that we have a broken system, that we need to repair it, and we need to improve it.
Then why did we vote to send Bob, if we were gonna do this, why did we spend the money to send Bob to get certified and take the test?
We had to, it was a state requirement.
It's not a state requirement according to them.
The state says it is, we could have argued that it wasn't, but I didn't want, we decided we were going to take.
I mean, Bob hasn't been certified for 20 years, correct?
But please understand, you can do one without the other.
Right.
You don't have, Bob can finish this certification process, he
Mhm.
can become certified, we can establish a certified building department here and proceed the way.
For residential only.
Residential only.
Correct.
The commercial is a separate entity. What I
Okay.
would very much like you to do as individuals is to consider this, and at the next meeting, someone make a motion to proceed or not. Because if you're not going to proceed, if there's a consensus here against it, let's know now. We don't want to proceed. This is going on long enough.
Well, I'll tell you what, right now, here and now, then I'll make a motion that we proceed with Mahoney County to have them inspect commercially for us.
Without seeing a contract?
We've already.
We've already seen the contract. Dave gave us a contract.
I don't even.
Apparently, it's not gonna matter if we have a contract or not.
We've already voted to have this contract written up.
Yeah.
But you did know it's not approved yet. The council has to approve the contract.
Understood, but now you're saying you'd rather not write up the contract.
No, I'm not. I'm saying there's obviously people who differ here on the merits of this issue. I just want to know if there's at least 4 votes on this council to proceed, because if there isn't, including the mayor, because if there isn't, you can talk all you want, it's not going to happen.
I thought that we already had that consensus and passed it, though. She just read those minutes from April 3rd.
The motion was to prepare the ordinance and the contract.
Correct,
That's
so now
not-
you're saying we're not gonna do that?
Brian, listen to me. I'm not saying anything. I'm asking you as council to decide whether you as council wish to proceed. Apparently, there's some here who don't want to. All I want to know is that the prevailing opinion or not?
But we did vote to proceed in April.
Exactly.
With the ordinance and the contract.
You did, and you can
Okay.
change your mind.
We were for it before we were against it.
So now, and I guess, do we want to see the ordinance and the contract?
Well, I can tell you what the ordinance is gonna say. It's gonna say that you, and the contract will say, when all these bureaucratic machinations are completed, that Mahoning County will take over the commercial, the responsibility for commercial approval, inspections, et cetera, within the city of Columbiana. There'll be no charge to the city because the fees come out of the fees that are paid by either the contractor and or the owner. So the city doesn't have to pay anything. There's going to be a clause in there that says either side can back out of it in 30 days. We originally talked about it for a year, but the prosecutor and I agreed it was just as simple to put in a 30-day termination clause. Either side could back out. And one of the things that the prosecutor up there wanted that I didn't was the state approval for the rescission of the contract. And I said, I'm not going to recommend that. And so finally they agreed that wouldn't be in there. So those are the terms of the contract. That's not the issue here. The issue is the merits of the matter. Some councilmen don't want to do this, apparently. I'm hearing you say that.
Well, I personally have not been convinced over this process. If you want to present an ordinance tonight for me to look at and vote up or down, or give it to me to vote up and down next week, I will.
Tom, that will be, what I just explained to you will be presented to you.
Okay, then
as soon as.
That's my vote at that point.
Something that's being forgotten here is that we agreed to test this for 1 year to see how it would work. That's what we agreed on.
That's what we agreed on.
And you know it, and I know it.
I don't
I'm
disagree with you
surprised
on that.
that you don't know it.
That's what we agreed upon. 1 year
It's a
trial.
test.
I don't vote on the contract.
So do we react to stuff instead of real life experience? Is that what we're doing here?
You made a motion to proceed as a body. You can change that if you're not in favor of it. If you're still in favor of it, I just want to know.
So you're going
because
to
we're
ignore
gonna-
the fact that it was a test?
Everything you say is true. I'm not disputing
But it
that.
doesn't seem to change your mind. You seem to be liking what's happening here.
Bob, I don't have a view on whether you should do it or
Sure.
not. I'm telling you how to do it.
Everybody has a view, Dan.
I'm not a voter. You're the voter.
We are.
Okay, so you have to tell, Bob, in simple terms, if this body, after we do all this, is going to say, no, we don't want to approve the contract, why go through it?
I mean, we've had a lot of times where
It
people.
doesn't seem to be very much work. You're saying like it's this monumental test that's taken.
The prosecutor is waiting for us to proceed to our end of it. Then they're going to, if we have an agreement, then the commissioners will be presented with the contract to sign. If they're going to sign it and then send it down here for us to sign, and you're not going to do it, tell me now. That's so much simpler.
That's the issue, but we already agreed to do a 1-year test.
We're repeating ourselves. I'm just suggesting.
Repeating it
if-
isn't bad. I mean, that's the thing that we agreed on.
If you want to change your mind, let me know. If you're not going to change your position, that's fine too. I'm not involved in the merits of it. I'm involved in the procedure.
So it's going to continue to proceed as it has, and he would like to know at the next meeting if you have a difference of opinion. Fair enough?
I think
So everyone consider that for the next 2 weeks,
It's not a difference of opinion. Someone would have to have changed their mind.
and it sounds like some have. So we'll get that at the next meeting.
So what do we distribute? Contract? Copy of the contract?
Can't do anything until
It is,
They would take it right now.
the one part.
Yeah.
But Dan's already made the statement that him being the city attorney, he recommends we wait until we get Bob certified, right?
that's my.
So that's his opinion. If you want to do different, then
And the Mahoning County prosecutor is more than pleased to wait for that. They don't have a problem with that.
For me, I don't personally care. I've already built my home, and this has nothing to do with residential. It's all commercial, and I'm looking at a couple $1 million investment that we've just put into this city in the form of Main Street. And we've got buildings that aren't taken care of, they've fallen apart, and no one does anything about it. If we had a commercial inspection department, we might be able to dress that stuff up and take care of it and actually bring business to this town rather than be afraid because of someone looking at the work they're doing.
okay, we beat this up enough, so we'll continue on like we have, and everyone give their opinion at the next meeting.
I have one more thing under these status issues. I have the planning commission report minutes of August 14th, 2012. And item 4 talks about a proposed amendment to the city zoning code concerning high pressure injection wells and disposal wells. McBain moved to recommend that City Council amend sections 1260.05 and 1260.22 of the zoning code for Blaisdell's recommendation, with the exception of the removal of the words high pressure. Well, it's now been 3 weeks and the council hasn't been, no one's made a recommendation to the council about this.
It's all,
And you see, here it is again. It falls right through the cracks.
it's not going through the cracks. If we have a public hearing scheduled before this council on the 30th of September, 30th of,
Well, it's one of the council.
it's one of the council meetings. You have to have a public hearing before the council.
That's fine, but can you tell us about this stuff without me having to get all wound up? and
You're
losing sleep over it?
looking at it, and it wasn't my recommendation. It came from someone that Keith had talked to. We simply took it to the planning commission, as was suggested by this particular state. Who was it, Keith? I don't
It
know.
was the City Managers Association.
But you're drifting on me. I was much simpler than that. I was just saying, if you know what you just said, why didn't you say it before I asked about it?
It's in the process. What can I
It's
say?
okay if we know
When
the
these-
process.
Well, you will get it in the appropriate time.
So we don't deserve it until you're ready?
Oh,
is what
come
you're saying?
on, my goodness.
Well, it was my goodness to you.
We schedule these things according to the charter. There's a requirement for a public hearing. There's a requirement for 2 readings by council. Planning commission has to make the recommendation in the first place. It's been done like this since 1973.
I'm not
And nobody's had any problem with it until this
You're
time.
going way off into the...
No, I'm not.
Bloomery someplace. I just want to know why we're not communicating.
What I'm telling you is we are communicating. And the communications come to you through letters from Keith, they come to you through minutes from the planning commission, they come to you through council agenda. You know everything that's, you should know in the appropriate time.
Let me read. McBain moved to recommend that City Council amend actions, the sections 1260.05 and 1260.22. That was McBain, the head of the planning commission. That was his recommendation. And it was voted on and passed unanimously.
And what's the date on it?
August 14th.
And on August 20th, it was presented to council and you received
I don't
it. Look at your minutes.
We had these two, and we
You received it on the
And
next
we-
council meeting.
Did we vote on this?
Yes, you received it.
Boy, I sure don't remember
Well,
anything
I
about
can't do anything
that.
about that.
There's no action. You received the minutes, and that's what Dan is saying. You officially received the information. Okay, at that point, then we start counting days when we have to have a public hearing for that action. During, at the public hearing, I don't know if it's the next council meeting, I'll have to look at the schedule. You know, you'll get a copy of the ordinance of what the changes are. At that time, and you have a public hearing. It'll be advertised, it'll be in the paper.
Dan just told me that we already saw it, we already voted.
No, you didn't vote, you just saw it. You received it in the minutes.
You were notified. You were notified of the action of the planning commission, then the process went into place, and we have set up the appropriate.
Never mind, you got me again. I mean, you wore me out.
We're still on the city manager.
Yes.
Keith, a couple of years ago when the building burned down at the park,
Okay.
where are we at with that? I mean, I remember seeing plans and what, didn't we receive insurance money? Is
We
that right?
received insurance money from the budget this year, and we're getting ready to advertise for bids. And the reason I held off is because the prevailing wage law has changed, and we can build this building without using prevailing wage now. And that just changed at the end of September. Will change at the end of September, I'm sorry. So I may be able to save, $30,000.
Will it be built, as Brian said, before wintertime?
We plan on
And did we, I don't remember because it was a while ago, what did we approve to be built? The shell, and then we were going to finish the inside?
it. We're gonna advertise it and and do it where we can add, we'll take, what do you call it? Alternates. And we'll take an alternate for 2 or 3 different items, and if it comes in with the money we have, we'll award them all.
And how much did we receive? Was it 95,000?
125.
125.
Anything else for the city manager? We have no more business, we'll be ready to new business. First item is a motion to approve the request from Elaine Kloss, Columbiana Music Boosters, for permission to hold tag day on October 6, 2012, from 9 a.m. till 12 noon in the city of Columbiana.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments? Dan?
Ferguson,
Yes.
Bishop,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Schoniger,
Yes.
Callender. Yes. Lakeman.
Yes.
And we have 3 resolutions. Due to the length, we have a motion reading by title only. Dan?
King,
Yes.
Schoniger,
Yes.
Callender. Yes. Lakeman,
Yes.
Ferguson,
Yes.
Bishop,
Yes.
Resolution number 12-R-436, first reading. A resolution authorizing the filing of a petition for annexation of 134.215 acre tract of land situated in the northeast and northwest quarters of Section 15, Township of Fairfield, County of Columbiana, State of Ohio.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments?
Where is this?
This is the water treatment.
Oh, the water treatment plant, okay.
Plus some farm
Some neighbors.
Okay.
properties. This, there's a blank petition for annexation in here.
Yeah, that's fine.
I wonder how we're voting on authorizing the filing of a petition.
Well, if you voted no, I wouldn't go through this exercise of getting these people all signed.
Okay.
So if they don't sign it, then our vote doesn't matter.
But they've indicated they will.
Yeah, that's the reason
There's
you're
been a
all.
lot of background to see whether or not they would, so.
Just
We're the principal, so unless you don't want, if you say, no, we don't want to annex, the other people aren't doing anything. Okay?
Dan?
Callender. Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Notice the Port Authority for Columbiana County is in here as a petitioner. How's that?
Railroad track.
On the railroad tracks?
Okay. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Callender. Yes. Lakeman,
Yes.
Ferguson,
Yes.
Bishop,
No.
King,
Yes.
Schoniger.
Yes.
That's what, okay, I'll wait on.
On this issue,
Yeah, I was gonna ask, is there a cost to this?
There'll be some filing costs. I don't think they're a lot of money.
What does this do to our,
Sorry.
we're probably not allowed to ask any more questions.
I'm allowed, because Jim had a question he forgot to ask.
Well, I forgot to. What does this do to our fire and police protection and all that stuff? My question again is this,
Well, first of all, it improves the police protection because we have no police protection at we have no, he has no authority to go to the water plant and do anything because it's not a township.
then I would agree with the water plant.
Okay, and that's one of the big reasons we're going forward. I mean, you know, this property was never in the city before because it was privately owned and we had a long-term lease and all that stuff.
Well, the only reason I voted no is because there's two issues here, and we're asking one vote. There is the issue of the water plant, and then there is the issue of the farm property.
Yeah.
And to you, that may be the same, but to me, it's not the same.
Okay.
Okay.
Resolution number 12-R-437, first reading. A resolution accepting the amount and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the city auditor.
So moved.
No. County law, you said city.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is it wrong?
No, it's just county
It
over.
says county auditor.
Did you say city? I thought you did.
I said that. Okay.
My hearing's going on.
Sometimes I don't know how to say. County auditor.
I'll second certifying into the county auditor.
Any comments? Dan?
Bishop,
Yes.
King,
Yes.
Schlenker. Callender,
Yes.
Wakeman,
Yes.
Ferguson.
And resolution number 12-R-438, first reading. A resolution accepting the amount and rates as determined by the Budget Commission and authorizing the necessary tax levies and certifying them to the county auditor.
So moved.
Do I have a second? Any comments? Ian?
Schlenker.
Yes.
Callender,
Yes.
Wakeman,
Yes.
Ferguson,
Yes.
Bishop,
Yes.
King.
Yes.
Next item on the agenda is we have an executive session planned for the discussion of purchase of property. We have a motion to go to executive session.
Second.
Do we have questions?
Comments?
No, just a question.
Oh, go ahead. Questions or comments?
Okay. I'm not real familiar with this executive session policy or legislation or whatever, but sometimes I'm not sure whether this is an exclusive item hidden from public view or not. I know that the only thing I know is if it's a personnel issue or a contractual issue, it's allowable. But I don't think this is either one.
Purchase of property is probably the most important reason to go into executive session. The reason being that the city doesn't want to and shouldn't reveal its position with regard to terms and conditions, price, that sort of thing, because it gives the people who are involved an advantage, knowing what the deliberations of the council may be. That's the reason for the executive session, and it's most certainly appropriate under the law, under the open meetings law.
Okay. Deanna, when you're ready.
Ferguson,
Yes.
Bishop,
Yeah.
King,
Yes.
Schlenker.
Yes.
Callender,
Yes.
Will there be any action after this? There will be no action after this executive session.
No whippings or All right. Gentlemen.